Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Garage Sports Media. Jackson here. Today we got a great episode for you. We're talking a little bit about Brandon Graham's big return to Philadelphia coming out of retirement. We'll be talking about the Eagles' passing game and Jalen Hurts' perfect game against the Vikings. Talking a little bit more about what the Eagles may need to do going forward to be a bit better. And some changes that they might need to make in the bye week after that Giants game to really be a Super Bowl contending team. So I want to just get right into it. News broke Monday night. Brandon Graham, number 55, is returning to the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a much needed move. And I'll tell you why. Now, the Eagles obviously have had their struggles with injuries and also have had some big players on the defense traded away. Now, you had such a dominant defense last year in that 2024 season. I mean, look at the way that they beat the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. It was a pretty defense-heavy game against the Chiefs with our offense scoring a lot of points. Now, I think, arguably, Eagles' defense was one of the best in the league, one of the best that we've seen in the recent years. And people are starting to wonder, why do they look so poor these last couple weeks? Now, I think a big piece of that was losing your veteran players. So, a couple key losses to the Eagles. You had Darius Slay, who was traded to the Steelers. A big, big loss for this team. He was a leader. He was a role model for newer players. They had a storyline last year. Quinyon Mitchell staying after practice, talking a lot to Darius Slay about what he can improve on, how he can be better. And so guys like that changed the locker room so much. They changed the vibe. Another key piece that they lost was obviously Brandon Graham. Isaiah Rodgers was a big part of their defense. So these guys leaving is a big reason why they haven't looked as strong. And so I feel like coming out of the Giants game, even coming out of the Tampa game, you start to realize there are holes in your defense, specifically at cornerback 2. There are some questions there between Kelly Ringo and Adoree Jackson. Neither are really great, so it is a question of what is the better of two evils, I guess. But on the line especially, there has been struggles. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis have struggled to stay healthy, to complete majority of snaps. But a big piece of that is also, losing a lot of key players on the line. So with Zadarius Smith retiring early last week, very abruptly in the middle of the season, it kind of created this snowball effect that turned into Brandon Graham coming back. So he talked about it with the media. He talked about it on his podcast, that this return was something that he's been thinking about for a long time now. He didn't feel like his season last year was really up to his standards. And, he got injured in that Rams game and was out for a while until the Super Bowl. So a guy like this, the reason that I am so excited about it is he is so much more of a key piece to this Eagles team than I think some people think. So, face value, he is obviously a pretty old defensive player on the line. And, maybe his snap count isn't as high, especially coming in mid-season out of retirement. Maybe physically he is not doing much to change this team. However, mentally and in the locker room, I expect change to come from this. A big problem that we have seen through this season is players being out-physicaled. Players who are just, they may make good decisions, but guys like Cam Skedebo are just running into them, trucking them. They clearly want it more. And so I think our defense, a big piece to making them better, is motivating them. These guys are, or at least were, hungry for a Super Bowl. And, some of these guys finally got that. And so you start to see a bit of regression. They need somebody to come in, somebody who's been here before, has won a Super Bowl before, somebody to really show them what it is like to try and stay as a competing team for the Super Bowl. So I'm hoping that his veteran mentality changes the vibe of this locker room. You know, your average age is, I think, about 24 in this locker room on the defense side. You need veterans. Even if they are not playing to the standards that they were 5 years ago or 4 years ago, just the change in mentality that they bring is going to be a big difference to this Eagles team. So I expect to see more fire out of these guys. And honestly, I expect to see them wipe the floor with the Giants. Jalen Hurts joins two Eagles greats, Donovan McNabb and Nick Foles, as one of the three Eagles to have a perfect passer rating game. Now, what this means is that Jalen Hurts was virtually perfect in his decision-making throughout the game, deciding when or when not to throw the ball, who to throw it to. So his rating, obviously about as high as you can get it. And I think that you could see that throughout this game. Now, this game against the Vikings, I feel was more meaningful than maybe some people are making it out to be. You had two big losses against the Broncos, and then you get beat down by the Giants on Thursday Night Football. So to come back 10 days removed and, really take over this Vikings team, I think that this is what the Eagles needed. So obviously, there has been struggles all season long with the passing game. People complain, like we have in the past, that they are not passing the ball enough. Their run game has struggled greatly. Their O-line is not as good as it used to be. So a lot of those guys are banged up on the O-line. Jalen's going to have less time to pass, and the run game is going to look a little weaker. So that's why you've been waiting so long for them to pass the ball efficiently. And if this game was not efficient enough for you, I don't know what can be. So obviously a big thing with the Eagles is Jalen Hurts tends to have games like these where he is just on fire, lighting it up, and then starts to take a step back a little bit. So he gets hot and he gets cold sometimes. But I think that if Jalen Hurts can be steady, if he can have another game similar to this against the Giants and going forward in the season, if he can show that he can efficiently continue to throw the ball, I don't think that there's much stopping this team from getting to the Super Bowl. So obviously, in the beginning of the season, you have your doubts, you have your questions. You say, if he can't get the ball to A.J. Brown, if he can't get the ball to Devontae Smith, how can they expect to win games? But little by little, we start to see this team pick the pieces that are struggling and change it. So we've seen the defense get a little better. We've seen the passing game get better. Now I'm waiting to see the run game get better. But going into Jalen Hurts' game a little bit more Sunday, obviously the offense still only put up 28 points. So, that is good, but I think it can be better. And I think a big part of it being better is consistency and time. So as these guys play more, as the season goes on, if they can stay consistent, if they can continue to have games where they are making deep shots down to AJ or down to Devontae in broken coverage, if they can continue to do that, then clearly that is the blueprint going forward of how this offense is going to succeed this season. And we kind of learned that in about week 6 last year. Saquon starts to break off for those big runs. You realize this is where our offense is going to succeed, is the run game. And you stick to that, and it works. And so if they can stick to passing the ball efficiently, especially with deep shots down the field, then that's, I think, what they should do going forward. Now, I want to look ahead to this upcoming Sunday, Eagles versus Giants. It's going to be at home, and guess what? It is Kelly Green week. So that is always an extra little boost for this Eagles team. I'm not sure if it's mental. I'm really not sure what kind of magical spell has been put on this team, but when they wear the Kelly green uniforms, something is different. Obviously, you've seen it in the past. The Dolphins game 2 years ago, this team looked incredible. And then going back to last year, Saquon Barkley's reverse hurdle against the Jaguars, Devontae Smith's one-handed catch in the end zone, and then you got the 40-plus point game against Dallas later in that season. So Kelly Green weeks are always exciting for the Eagles on vibes alone. But with this game, I want to look a bit more into exactly what I think is going to happen and the outcome of this game. So looking back to last week and even 2 weeks ago, obviously Giants did defeat the Eagles 2 weeks ago, but last week Giants do lose to the Denver Broncos in, honestly, a heartbreaking game for them. So going into that third quarter, they were up, I believe it was 19-0, and they lose the game 32-33. So there has been no team that has scored 33 points in the fourth quarter that I know of in the recent era of the NFL. So to do this, two things need to happen. One, the Giants' defense needs to be very bad. And two, the Giants' offense needs to turn the ball over multiple times. And that's exactly what happened in this fourth quarter of the game. Now, what the Broncos were able to figure out about this team, I'm not sure. I think a big part of it was putting more pressure on Jackson Dart. And even just the physicality at the line, they were able to best this Giants O-line. An O-line that is not very good and has not been good in the past. So I think that if this Eagles D-line can kind of best them in this game, I think that is a big part of how you can stop this Giants team. So you saw it when they played the Eagles before. Jackson Dart was very good at running against this team. Cam Skedaboo was good at running against this team. And a big part of that was lack of pressure and lack of quarterback containment. So I think that the Eagles really can work on keeping Jackson Dart in the pocket and collapsing the pocket on him. Have your linebackers come down a little bit more. Keep those guys in check. That's really the biggest piece to this Giants team right now is those two guys. So, they have Malik Neighbors out for the season. Realistically, Adoree Jackson should not struggle against his former teammate, Darius Slayton, but he has in the past. But all you can do is hope. All you can do is hope that they keep these guys locked down and stop some of those bigger plays that we were seeing. Giants got a lot of explosive plays the last time that they played the Eagles, so I think that is a big piece to stopping this team is stopping Jackson Dart. But another big piece to this is finding the Giants' defense weak points early on. Now, we saw it in this Eagles game. The offense started to look a little bit better. Devontae Smith starts breaking some coverage, starts getting out a little further than guys. Jalen Hurts is overthrowing the ball. And so it was just little things such as penalties, holding calls, stuff like that, that starts to make the offense look worse and worse. It's little mistakes that could be fixed. So if the Eagles can be really, I guess you could say, meticulous about these mistakes that they're making, if they can go in and say, hey, we did this, and that wrong. And that is exactly what we need to work on. If they can figure out this Giants team early, then I think that they're going to have a good chance of beating them. So game is at home against the Giants. And so I think that is also a big piece to it. Obviously, being in front of your home crowd is at times a big piece to winning games. But really with this Giants-Eagles game, I see the Eagles winning. I see the Giants putting up some points. I think it is going to be a closer game than it was the last time we fought them. And I think that the Eagles are going to win this one. I don't think that it's going to be a blowout, but I do think that they're going to win. Now, after this Giants game, we do have the bye week coming up. So looking ahead to that, I want to kind of pick out some points of where the Eagles can try and improve over the bye week to really look like a Super Bowl caliber team. Now, right now, in my own rankings, I probably have them at 7th or 8th in the NFL currently. I think that they are a really strong team, but I think that there is a lot of things that is holding this team back. So, going into the bye week, I think your biggest concern needs to be possibly trading for a cornerback. You know, there is a lot of weak spot at the cornerback 2 position. Adoree Jackson obviously is not working out. He's struggling either with injury or he's just struggling to play well. So I think that is a big piece that they need to look at, because another thing is clearly Kelly Ringo is not that guy for this team. You know, he was a player that they drafted, that they invested in, and you see that work out sometimes with Jordan Davis, with Jalen Carter, even with some of the newer guys, Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, but not all of them work out. And Kelly Ringo, I think, is an example of someone that's not working out for this team. I think he is one of the biggest weak points of this team right now. He is not as physical as other players. He struggles in coverage, especially man coverage, staying one-on-one with people. So I think he is a big piece to why this Eagles defense is struggling so much. And so I think that is a priority for the Eagles. They need to go out and they need to try and trade for somebody. I've heard people talk about Denzel Ward. So if they can trade for him, obviously that is a huge, huge improvement at the cornerback position. And another thing that I think that they need to improve on defense-wise, like we said before, is physicality. So a big piece of why you see this defense look so good last year is because you have guys playing physical football. You know, nail and tooth football where they are just clawing to get anything. And this defense team last year looked really well when they are going up against big teams because they wanted it more. You see the way that they out-physical Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow. You know, there are good players that they were able to beat and just outperform last year on physicality alone. But that has been a big weak point this season. Some of the games that I think about, you almost let the Bucs come back and beat us in that second half of the game. And I get it's hot, and I get that it was a long game, but your stamina's down. You don't look as strong as the other team. You kind of go out there, you mope around, you're sluggish. What are we doing? Against the Giants, same thing. You go out there, maybe I'll tackle the quarterback, maybe. Or maybe I'll let him get 5 yards and headbutt me. So I think that is a huge piece of where the Eagles' defense needs to improve, is being more physical. Even earlier games this season, being more physical is a huge improvement that this team needs against the Cowboys. They struggled in that first half of the game with, keeping their stamina up, going out there, playing a large snap count, and not being tired. And I know a big piece of that is the offense, staying on the field for long periods of time. There was a lot of 3-and-outs recently with this Eagles offense. So you can't really blame the defense for being tired, but, we started to see pieces of it in this Vikings game. Carson Wentz was not sacked a lot, but that guy was hit multiple times. I'm talking Jalen Carter fighting to get to Carson Wentz, fighting to rip this guy's head off. That is what I need to see out of every player on this defense. Now, I know that Jalen Carter is 1 in a million for this team. His dedication and his motivation to play this game at a high level really shows in this player. You're not going to get that out of everybody. But if some of these players can start playing up to his potential, I think we can see a big improvement. Now, on the offense side of the ball, I think our biggest improvement comes with our O-line. So during that bye week, a big thing you got to work on is getting these guys healthy. Jordan Mailata, unfortunately, has not been playing great. But he hasn't been playing great because he has not been surrounded by greatness, per se. You know, this Eagles O-line looked really strong in the past, last year especially, with Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Mekhi Becton, Lane Johnson. Those 5 guys, I believe that they can make any quarterback, any running back, look great. But this season, a lot of injuries are, making this team struggle a bit. So now Jordan Mailata's on his own with Fred Johnson. And, Lane Johnson's out. He's injured. Landon Dickerson's injured. Cam Jurgens, he's looking like he might be battling some injuries too. So I think a big part of getting this team better, getting this offense better, is making the O-line healthy. And with making the O-line healthy also comes getting them on the same page. We've seen it a lot. Guys are maybe not reading the defense correctly. And so there has been lots of struggles with the run game. Now, the run game has been predictable, and I do think that the offensive coordinator, Kevin Patullo, needs to sit down with the team and say, we've been doing a lot of inside runs. Maybe we need something else. Maybe we need to swing out to the left or shoot off to the right. Just anything to switch it up a little bit. But a huge piece of this is, can your O-line make the right gaps at the right time? Can you get a tackle coming in from the side, opening up space for Saquon to have a 70-yard run? I think if they can come against this Giants team and do that, that's going to look great. And if they can work on that even more in the bye week to open up spots for Saquon to work on this run game, then your offense becomes complete. Because right now, we are starting to see the passing game get better. We obviously had that amazing game from Jalen Hurts and really amazing game from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith had one of the best games of his NFL career. Had the most receiving yards out of any player last week. So our passing game is starting to get better. If we can get the run game where it needs to be, this team clicks. And I think that's what they can improve on in the bye week. Now, that's really all I have for Eagles football. I just want to get into one more topic because it is obviously on my mind. The 76ers. Are we back? Are we back? Because I'm starting to think we are. Because I'm starting to think that, these 5 guys, they're looking pretty good. And once we get Jared McCain back, I don't see a lot of teams that I could really say are better than a healthy 76ers team. VJ Edgecombe just came out and had one of the best NBA rookie debuts that we have seen in years. This guy put up 34 points and 7 rebounds. If you're watching the game, you sit there the entire game and you say, this guy doesn't just look good, he's dominating this Celtics team. He looked like the best player on that court, and he is a rookie. I think if he can consistently play like this, and obviously he's not going to score 30 points every game, but if he can keep up consistently playing to this level, he might be in the question for Rookie of the Year, if there even is a question about it. So I just wanted to talk about that a little bit, about the 76ers team. I really think that they have a good chance to make a run this year. Tyrese Maxey is looking better than ever. And when you have VJ Edgecombe with him, And then you also have Jared McCain once he's back. Joel Embiid. Maybe not Joel Embiid. He's struggled recently. But those three guys alone, I would take over a lot of players in the NBA right now. So I like the 76ers odds. I hate to say it, I know it's very early in the season, but if VJ Edgecombe can keep this up, I'm all in. All right, guys, that's all we have today for you. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know in the comments, how do you think this Eagles team is going to look against the Giants this week? Do you have them winning this game? Make sure to comment down below and let us know. We'll see you guys next week with another video.